Hey,
What
welcome.
what you up to?
Walking around, walking the trails,
Mm-hmm.
listening to the air traffic.
Yeah.
You know, you think that with the whole demic thing, there would be a reduction in air traffic, and it increased when the airlines weren't running. And I wonder where it all came from, because never used to hear it out here. Used
Yeah.
to be pretty quiet. Anyways, are you afraid? Preppers, I hear this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of preppers are afraid that if something really heavy went down, the government's going to come and take all their stuff. And people ask all the time, do you think that's possible? It's probable because something like that could technically happen. All they have to do is write up a piece of paper giving themselves the right to do whatever they want. We've seen this happen before.
In New York, more recently,
Mm-hmm.
that governor, she wrote herself an executive order to mandate the not the shutdown, but getting nurses and doctors in the hospitals,
Replaced. Yeah,
replacing them,
with either National Guard people
or foreigners.
or people from the Philippines, I thought, right? And it's like they're not qualified, but they're going to write them an exemption.
In each
Isn't that
state,
nice?
you have to pass the certification for that state. So, you know, how are they going to do that?
By writing them an exemption and just having unqualified people.
Anyway, that's not what you wanted to talk
it's
about.
your life, so what do they care? As
Yeah.
long as they're taken care of, right?
Yeah,
They're the elite.
you're
But
not.
we have seen this happen before, and back to the East Coast, there are examples of that with the masks. If you recall, when the whole thing first jumped off, masks were allegedly in short supply, even though a lot of states complained that their shipments were confiscated by the FBI,
Yeah.
and they never got them back. Hundreds of thousands and even millions of masks coming in on ships that were taken and never distributed. And even New York filed a suit about that like a year ago or more. But if you recall, in New York and New Jersey, and the one in New Jersey really stands out for me because of the circumstances where the FBI came after them. And it also goes to show you folks how these agencies can be weaponized against citizens. People who already owned masks, they had like a warehouse full of them that were selling them, and they said, oh, well, we're going to confiscate them all because you're price gouging, because they wanted an extra 50 cents a mask or something. I didn't see anybody confiscating eggs and milk from Walmart at that time,
Yeah.
just saying, because it got real expensive there. But anyways, they came and they took him, and the guy in New Jersey rings a bell for me because I remember that they also stuck him with a federal assault charge. They stuck him with federal assault, or assault on a federal officer, because he didn't cover his mouth when he sneezed. So he sneezed even though he couldn't because he was handcuffed. And I'm pretty sure he didn't like deliberately go around trying to sneeze on someone like that at the time. And I'm willing to bet that a judge made that stick too, so that he could get a felony on his record, which is a load of crap, which again shows how they can weaponize this stuff and use it against citizens to intimidate them, control them, threaten them, coerce them. All the stuff that if it was you, you'd get RICO charges on you, and you'd do like 20 years in prison. But yeah, if they want it and you're on the radar, there's a chance they could come after you. And on the radar, what do I mean by that? Well, some of these groups are big and well-known militia groups, prepper groups that are rather large, and they make a big noise. They make a big noise. They leave a big footprint on, Facebook, on YouTube, wherever it is, where they say, "Hey, we got a stockpile. We get 500 members." Somebody knows who you are, and you're on a list somewhere, and you could end up with the National Guard or state police or someone showing up at your door and taking everything. You don't know. Also, some of these town charters, some of these counties across the United States it depends. It's different in different counties. Every county has their own rules and regulations. But on some of these charters, they have it written in that in case of like a big emergency, they reserve the right to collect consumable goods by way of food or water from basically anyone and everyone and pool it together. So they could come around and bang on your door with a SWAT team and take all your food and water out of the house and bring it to the gym at the local high school, and then give you crumbs back. It could technically happen. Best way to avoid that, what am I always saying? Just keep your mouth shut. I've done complete videos on that. Preppers, you need to keep your mouth shut. You know, I know a lot of preppers, they like to try to warn people and reach out to people and tell family and tell neighbors and try to help them out and warn them and whatever, and they always get the yeah, well, I'm not worried, I'll just come to your house. And they think it's a joke, but watch what happens in an emergency. They sure will show up at your door, and if you tell them, you know, piss off, they sure will tell the guy in the brown shirt that you've got a stockpile somewhere, and it will end up in the high school gym and being sprinkled out to everyone else while somebody's sitting on a throne somewhere. It's pitiful, and that is a scary reality. That is something that you do need to consider in your prepping, that an official agency could write themselves in or have already something written in to grant them permission to just stick it to you and everybody else during an emergency situation.
And also, because I watch a lot of prepper channels, and a lot of preppers, you got some that talk mainly about weapons. And the ones that mainly talk about weapons, they always show all their weapons.
That's true too.
And the FBI does have a division that monitor social media. That's why they know about pedophile rings, and they know about these new terrorist organizations within your community, and they watch for stuff like that. So you might want to be careful, because I've also seen preppers that say, okay, well, the top 5 weapons to have, and then they show you all these weapons. I mean, and it's not pictures, it's like their personal stash. Also monitor if you take pictures on your phone of your weapon, because it always goes to the cloud.
Yeah.
It automatically, especially Google, they automatically
save everything,
things to the cloud. So, you know, just be mindful of that right there. If you talk about, you know, telling people, hey, these are the top 5, don't show pictures, especially of yours. You know, maybe you might show a still shot of a weapon or something.
Yeah.
But don't show your personal collection, and be mindful of the people that like to show you their personal collection, because maybe they're playing. You never know.
Yeah. You can't know. And if you recall, again, not that I'm a fan of a Myers, was it Michael Myers who did the documentary 9/11?
Oh, I know who you're talking about, but I don't know the guy.
He did Fahrenheit 9/11, I think was the title of the documentary. And, you know, I'm not a fan of his, but there's some interesting things in there, including, and I think I've mentioned this before, it was like a quilting group or a sewing circle or a knitting circle. It was a bunch of old ladies, basically, and they had an FBI plant after the Towers incident, because they were being monitored. And there's like what, maybe around a dozen of them, and they're knitting or whatever they were doing. Why does the FBI need to watch them? Because they can. And it makes you wonder, you know, what they're doing the rest of the time while they're watching her and harassing the average person over nonsense. We're hearing a lot of that now with PTA meetings. The school boards are reporting parents, and they're being investigated because they're upset about what the schools are teaching. You have a right to go there and say what's on your mind. The law says so. And, you know, it's a bunch of bullshit, because you go up there. If you've ever been to a town meeting or a school board meeting or anything like that, you know, you do your little 3 minutes or whatever, 5 minutes that the law allows, and then they tell you to piss off, And if you don't, a police officer escorts you out. They're that serious about it. And no matter how many people, the whole school, every parent of every kid in the school can be outraged, and they're just going to be like, yeah, whatever, and do what they want anyway, because they know that you are powerless in those situations. They don't care. You can go there and be mad all you want, but now they're weaponizing federal agencies against these parents, and they're being harassed. FBI coming and knocking on your door because you raised your voice at a PTA meeting. That's insane.
Yeah.
You know, that's not the America I grew up in. I don't know where I am. But yeah, to answer the question, it is possible that you could end up getting targeted or ratted out to be targeted by a neighbor or relative. You never know. So you do have to be careful. I know you want to encourage people and bring people in, but you've always got to be careful about how you do it and never show your hand. It's one of the biggest mistakes I see in the prepping community is people that tip their hand. Hey, look at all my stuff. Look at my gigantic pantry. Look at my lockers full of guns. Slow down. Really, please, for your own sake. Just slow down a little bit and think about it. And also, the idea has been tossed out about doing a live stream. What does anybody think about that? If you have any opinions about that, you know, post it in the comment section down below. If you think that that's a good idea or not, or why. And again, please do give the video a thumbs up if you got something out of it. Share it if you can. Probably the only way it'll get seen. Subscribe if you're new, all that. If you wanted to help the channel out, there were links for that down below. Every little bit helps, and I sure do appreciate it. And what more can I say but stay frosty, folks, and thanks for watching.